staying with us, we continue with our focus on the farm laws. We began by asking a question and having a conversation with the farmer leaders, representatives of various farm groups and the government and the NDA about what's the way forward and should there be restarting of dialogue between the two sides. Now we're going to put the spotlight on the politics of it, on what happened today. Our RLD leader landing at the protest site, sharing stage with Rakesh Tikayat. Aam Aadmi Party leaders also visiting the protest site saying we stand with the farmers. Rahul Gandhi coming out and making comments like the protest is not going to stop and in fact is going to spread to every corner of this country. Is this kind of politicization only going to harm the farmers' movement? Do we need that? Shouldn't it be kept separate the way it was all this while? Of course, we are going to see a lot of chaos and drama unfold as the budget session of the parliament kicks off. It did today, and the opposition boycotted the president's address. But starting Monday, when the budget will be presented, and then from there on, that's the place for the political parties to raise the issue and question the government and the farm laws. Anything more? Can it derail the farmers' movement? And after this, of course, the next conversation is going to be on the merits and the demerits of the laws. And unlike others, we are actually going to get farmers on both sides to debate the laws. But first up, let me say good evening to the political representatives joining me right now. Neha Joshi of the BJP, Abhishek Dutta of the Congress Party, and Neena Gupta of the Aam Aadmi Party. Neena Gupta, let's begin with you. Why is it that the Aam Aadmi Party leaders decided today to go visit the protesting farmers at the site? Why do that?
So, Tanvi, if you see the way the protests have been going and the way BJP has behaved with the farmers, what they did was they cut off their water, they removed all the toilets, and the BJP goons have been attacking the farmers. So, there was a request from the farmers for supplying of water. And that is all we did. We made sure that we supplied them water. The tankers were not allowed to come to the site. The police was stopping the tankers from entering the area where the farmers were. And so we, the ministers who are responsible for these issues just went there to make sure that there is no problem that the farmers are facing.
Neha Joshi, do you want to respond to this? The fact that it's become political and involves more parties is also because it's the BJP and the authorities who started cutting off the supplies to the protesting farmers.
Thank you, Tanvi, for having me. Tanvi, this protest was political right from day one. You have Mr. Tikayat leading this protest, who fought polls on an RLD ticket. You have Yogendra Yadav, who was earlier part of AAP and now has his own political party. You have Darshan Pal, who's a Communist Party leader. So this protest has been political right from day one. All that has happened now that the facade has been lifted. Today, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, citing his 15 years of political experience, basically gave a clarion call for violence. You know, a responsible political leader, the de facto, Malik, I won't even call him the president or the Adhyaksh, he's actually the owner, proprietor of the Congress Party. He took to the, he spoke to the press today, and what he said was, this is going to spread. He tried to fan the fire. There was no talk of dialogue. There was no talk of discussion. There was no talk of amendment of provisions that were not, acceptable to the farmers. He gave a call for violence, and the Congress Party spokesperson here speaks about violence unleashed by BJP. Madam, 1,800 factories in the Singhu bordered area are on the verge of closure due to these farmer protests. Are those not citizens of the country? Why do they bear the cost of your politics? Is the question I want to ask you today here.
But what percentage of the blocking is because of the police and their barriers and barricades that actually only stop supplies to the farmers, but not when some so-called locals land up there to pelt stones, Neha? Are we really going to blame only the farmers for causing the inconvenience?
Tanvi,
they are not the ones who dug up the roads on day one. They are not the ones who brought in the cement blocks and the concrete blocks or dug up the roads. They didn't do that.
It's so difficult to believe. Tanvi, why is it so difficult to believe that if somebody parks themselves outside my house for over 2 months, there is a point where my patients will give up? There is a point where I will say this is not a farmers' protest because
it is
this
difficult
not
to
going
believe
anywhere.
they
The
managed to
government
get
has
through
done
so many
so
layers
many
of security and barriers, which otherwise are the cause of all the inconvenience. It is difficult to believe that they were given a free hand to do what they want,
Tanvi, the
when
farmers
otherwise you
leaders
say
have on
that the
record.
Kisans are not
Tanvi,
able to
hear
get
me
access
out.
to anything. You
Now,
block the roads, you blame the Kisans for blocking the roads. How is it that then
Tanvi,
everybody
allow
else
me
is
to
getting
answer.
free movement?
So now, Tanvi, allow me to answer. The farmer leaders
Tanvi,
have
give
gone
me a
on
moment to respond also, please.
the farmer leaders have gone on record to say that it was the locals who have been supplying them with food, water, helping them with electricity. There is a point where their patience is going to say, we're not going to take this anymore. Not when you desecrate the national flag, not when this is not about the farmers anymore and it's pure politics. There is a point. Why are we so ready to dismiss these locals who may have a genuine bone to pick with these alleged farmer leaders now?
Yes.
Tanvi,
Before I go
can I
first to
respond?
Abhishek,
Yeah.
before I go to Abhishek, Reena wanted to add to that. Yes.
Yeah. So, Tanvi, it is very clear there have been enough reports today by the media and by some of the AAP workers who were present. These were not the local people. These were goons of BJP who were not even from that area. They were from, Bhavana and Narela who had come there. They started pelting stones. It was very clear the police had been ordered not to stop
Madam,
them.
these
The
unfounded
police and the
allegations,
CRPF was standing there
a
and
very
watching.
respected
So it is
editor
extremely
has
clear.
been shown the door and an FIR has been lodged against him for spreading fake news. So I request you to refrain from
Yes,
doing
of
that.
course, we know that your government is very fond of silencing anybody who questions you and
Fake news needs
putting
to be
false
curbed.
FIRs
Fake news
and
needs to be
putting
curbed and your
activists
party
in
Okay.
jail.
I'm
We-
sorry,
it's
I
very,
find
very
it hilarious that
clear.
representatives of
This is all
political
that
parties right now are trying to take a higher moral ground about tackling fake news. I don't even want to go there because it's really amusing for me. Yes, Abhishek Dutt, please respond to what Neha Joshi of the BJP has said. Why is it that Rahul Gandhi is so confident that the protesters are not going to back off, that in fact the protest will now spread to every part of the country? Are you fanning it?
Tanvi, first of all, I openly challenge my friend from Bharatiya Janata Party to lodge an FIR against me, and I will quote, and please record it. How come members of Bharatiya Janata Party, husband of a sitting councillor, get access to reach the farmers' protest? There were videos from different news channels where the cops are standing in front and stone pelting is happening. The cops are looking at the other side and you start beating up the farmers. When an ordinary person cannot
There
be
are enough
allowed to go
videos
towards
of
that
Congress
side.
leaders reaching the protest
Please
site
let me
too.
complete.
There is enough video
Please
evidence.
complete? Listen, I don't want to overshout you. Please let me complete. In case you want to speak, you speak. I'll speak after you. But please don't interfere. You want to say something, you please say. But you have to listen to what I say also. First of all, I don't know what press conference have you seen today. The press conference started with very clear fact that all the 3 anti-farmers bill should be cancelled immediately. You want this protest to finish? Please make a simple announcement. Tell me one farmer union which met the Honorable Agriculture Minister who wanted these farm laws. Not even a single person has approached your ministry to get these laws implemented. Tell me who approached you for these laws.
Rahul Gandhi to
It is
ask for
very
repealing
clear.
of these farm laws?
Mr. Rahul Gandhi is a member
who barely
Yes,
managed
so
to
he
attend
can speak.
Parliament.
You know, he's member of parliament. You can question. Don't be so arrogant. I'm sorry. Don't be so arrogant. Anyone can challenge the government. Don't be so arrogant.
Country when these
Neha
bills
ji,
were
don't be so. Rahul Gandhi ji is a sitting member of parliament. He's got full right to speak.
was not
So
even
please don't say who is Rahul
he was
Gandhi.
so concerned about the interests of the farmers of this country that he didn't even
So,
bother to be in the
why
country,
can't he-
forget being in
He's
parliament.
interested about the farmers of the country, not about the corporate of this country. Your concern is free corporate houses. Tell me who wants this law? In the middle of lockdown, in the middle of an epidemic, you're getting this law passed for few corporates who will benefit out of this? Tell me one farmer who wanted this law.
No, but Abhishek,
Why did you pass this without?
you still not answered the question I'm asking.
Ask.
Yes, the Congress
Ask.
party
I have a
and all the opposition parties will get enough and more time, hopefully this time in parliament, to debate these laws and ask these questions. But tell me this.
Absolutely.
The same press conference that you were referring to right now, where he said that I demand that the laws be repealed, we stand with the farmers of this country. He said that the farmers are not going to go back home. वो वापस नहीं जाने वाले हैं. और ये protest cannot be contained, it will spread. Now, that is the question I'm asking. Why is he adding to it?
It is spreading. No, it is spreading. When you file cases against the farmer unions, when you press them with strong charges, which they're not even involved, when you ignore your own party political managers who go to Lal Killa, who excite the crowd, who make live videos, people like Deep Sidhu, when you
Are you
ignore
talking
them
about
and you put
Nikhil Bhalla?
FIRs against farm
Mr. Dutt, are you
leaders,
talking about Nikhil Bhalla? Should I
when you
share
do that, then what do you
pictures
do?
of him standing with your
Of course you
national
can.
leadership? I request Tanvi to
You're
put up
most
those
welcome
pictures
to
maybe
share
on Mirror
pictures.
now.
He's not a political manager. You're most welcome to share them. I'll be happy to see them. But who is he? Is he a
So why
political
was he
nominee?
seen
He's not a
hobnobbing with
political
the
manager.
topmost leadership of the Congress
There are
party? May I
hundreds.
ask that?
He's
You
not a
should tell all
political
the
manager.
viewers
He
today.
could be. He
What
could
was
be.
he doing?
You can come and get a
Hobnobbing
photograph
with
clip.
the
You're most
topmost
welcome.
leadership of the political
You're
party?
most welcome.
And what
In
was
democracy,
he doing?
anyone can come to a leader.
What was he doing on top of a
He
tractor
should.
at the IPO on 26th of
If he
January?
feels,
These are
if he
questions you
wants
must
to,
answer.
stand with
can
the
I come
farmers
in?
and not with the corporate, he's more than welcome. You can join the protest.
Reena
You're
Gupta
sitting
wants
in a
to come in.
comfortable house. Why don't you come and join the
Well,
protest?
fact of the matter
Why can't
is,
Nick- why
for
can't
all
everyone-
the anger and the outrage that everybody felt on 26th, and I, as just a citizen, was utterly disappointed about what was happening at the Red Fort. And I'm even more disappointed
Tanvi,
today
Tanvi,
that nothing has been done about it. Faces were visible.
Tanvi,
They're
can I
all there for everybody to see. We brought in reports live at that point of what was happening on the ground. None of those people who resorted to that kind of violence have actually, the big ones, the ones who were leading them, have actually been picked or arrested. That's for the government to tell us what action they are taking. So far, only notices to farmer leaders have gone. Nothing more has been done. 1 minute, please. 1 minute. Reena Gupta first. Reena Gupta first. Yes.
Yeah, Tanvi, I totally agree with you that why is the government not investigating who were the people who were responsible? Because these people were from BJP. The government has been complicit in inciting that violence, and that is the only reason why they're not investigating. And as far as Congress is concerned, there's no difference between Congress and BJP. Captain Amarinder Singh was part of the committee which drafted these farm laws. So, Congress was hand in hand with
Aam Aadmi
BJP
Party,
when these
Kejriwalji had
Abhishek,
officially given a stand
let
in
me
Delhi.
complete.
please
Abhishek,
don't
I
give
did
wrong
not
information.
interrupt. Abhishek,
Okay,
I did not
please,
interrupt. This
please
is
speak.
not something. This is not something that I'm making
Please,
up.
sir.
It is a response from the Niti Aayog in response to an RTI filed, which says very clearly that Captain Amarinder Singh was part of the committee that drafted these 3 laws. So where was Congress sleeping all this time? And Captain has very much been part of the drafting committee. So now it's actually very funny for Mr. Rahul Gandhi to suddenly wake up and be back from his vacation and start questioning the farm laws. Where was he all these all these months when
the
the farmers
point-
have them?
Yes.
Can we please come in?
Yes, please.
And we can please
Yeah.
I remember this press conference done by Mr. Arvind Kejriwal when he categorically speaks that once the President of India approves a bill, it becomes a law for all the states. No state can cancel once the President approves. What happens after that? People troll him. Captain Amarinder Singh, please let me complete. I didn't interfere when you were speaking, please.
No, you
Please
are
allow me to
digressing.
speak.
You are digressing from the
After which,
topic.
no, I'm not. After which,
You're
when Captain
digressing.
Amarinder Singh challenged Arvind Kejriwal ji, as usual, he took a U-turn. He called for a
Abhishek,
special session, took the
This
bill,
is
tore it
before
off.
the
What are you
farm
trying to
laws
fool?
were notified.
Who are you trying to fool?
The
No,
committee,
please don't give wrong information.
that drafted the
See,
laws.
please,
Captain
please
Amarinder Singh
don't
was
give
part
wrong
of the
information.
committee that
Arvind
drafted the laws.
Kejriwal ji, known for his U-turn, he took a U-turn on farm law when he realized he's stepping on the wrong side. I know you play a very good team B2 Bharatiya Janata Party and you excellently do it. But just keep in mind, we are fighting for the farmers. Our issue is much bigger today.
Oh, really?
All these
Okay.
three farm laws have to be called off. There is no way that the farmers will accept this. I'll request the honorable member from Bharatiya Janata Party to go to the bosses and say, please cancel these farm laws right away. Let it go to the parliament. Let there be a discussion.
This is a democracy,
and then
sir.
plan a
Unlike the Congress party,
Absolutely.
unlike the Congress
What
party,
happened in Rajya Sabha was
run by a
democracy.
family,
What
which
happened
is
in
a
Rajya Sabha was
proprietorship.
democracy.
It's a
When you put up the
democracy, a
mics and
country we're
CCTV
talking about.
cameras, when someone asks for
Okay,
voting
all
to
right,
be done.
all right. Allow me. I have heard, and the viewers have heard, what all the political parties here on the panel have had to say. Neha Joshi, it does seem as if your party is going to be very, very alone on this issue when you go to the head into the budget session starting Monday. Almost all big political parties, even some of your earlier allies, are now on the other side. Clearly, somewhere you went wrong in terms of building up consensus.
Tanvi, before I answer your question, today a Congress MP T.N. Prathapan had filed a petition in the Supreme Court saying farmers cannot survive without the MSP. Chief Justice Bobde has on record said that you want the old regime to continue and show us the evidence where it mentions that the MSP system is being withdrawn. These are the comments made by the Honorable Supreme Court just today. Now, coming back to answer your question, that the government has done everything it could to convince the farmers. Amendments offered on 9th of December addressed all the gaps in the laws, giving farmers and states upper hand in dealing with private players by virtue of mandatory registration, taxation, and legal recourse in civil courts, which were some of the concerns that the farmers had raised. The government had even offered the farmers an 18-month buffer period before the laws came into force, where they could further be discussed and amendments. There was an opportunity to introduce further amendments. After all of that, what happened in 26 was something that none of us can ever forget. But I think what is significant is today, when the leader of a national party speaks to the press and he effectively gives a clarion call for violence. When four prominent Kisan unions, the
when did he talk about violence? Stop making up stories.
Kisan Mahapanchayat, BKU, all of these organizations have said that we withdraw from these protests. Just a couple of hours back, Anna Hazare has held a press conference and said that he's not going to undertake the fast that he was going to. So why is all of this happening? And at the other side, you see this leader.
Maybe you should ask Devendra Fadnavis to head the negotiations with you then, and then he can go ahead and convince all the other protesters and farm leaders as well on it. But I find it a little odd, Neha Joshi, that for the way you talk about what happened on 26th of January, there is absolutely not even a 1 inch of or sign of saying, oh, we should also introspect and take accountability. We were the ones who gave the permission. We were the ones responsible for law and order, and we let it get out of control in such a bad way. If we cannot protect places like Red Fort in our country, then what is it that we are doing? If we can't protect farmers at their protest sites from locals pelting stones at them, then what is it to say about your security arrangements?
You have been holding a debate here on Mirror now, saying how fascist the regime is, that it cannot even allow a peaceful protest. So that is something that comes with being in power. You have to take all of this.
Or blame everything on the farmers. That's the other way you can go about it, by saying from day one, the farmers knew about the laws, we gave them the time, we listened to them, we spoke to them, and they still created all the violence. So simply blame it all on the farmers. Isn't that what is otherwise happening?
Tanvi, can I come in for 10
seconds? Nobody's blaming it on the farmers, Tanvi. It is the politics, it's the political leaders like Rahul Gandhi, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, all of these leaders who are flocking to the Mahapanchayat today. It is these leaders who are to be blamed for this, not the farmers. My party and my leaders have maintained that it is not a farmers' movement. This has nothing to do with the farmers or farmers' interests anymore.
Tanvi, can I come in?
Representatives wanted to make a point. Yes, first to Abhishek Dutt, then Neena Gupta, I'm coming to you. Abhishek.
Tanvi, it is so strange that, Bharatiya Janata Party talks about making amendments. Now, let's discuss on a zero level. A bill which is being proposed, which has been implemented without taking any farmers into confidence, is passed through an undemocratic way in Rajya Sabha, calls in for 10 discussions. Every time they discuss, they say, yes, there's another mistake, we'll amend this. When there are so many flaws in the bill which is not being introduced properly, why can't you call it off and have a proper discussion? Every time you sit with the farmers, you buy time, you try and deviate from the main focus, and then you make changes. We all know this bill is anti-farmers. Even you know it. That's why you're being so hesitant about this entire campaign. That's why you're calling out the farmers again and again, because you've gone wrong. It's good to accept it, follow the bill, go to the parliament, have a discussion, take your opposition.
You rata ek jawab lekar aate har channel par. Anti-farmer.
I request you to, yes, I will tell you why it's anti-farmers. Your first bill, can I tell you why it's anti-farmers?
The agricultural sector. It is over a decade. Over a decade of consultation.
By not allowing the farmer to go to the court to fight for his rights.
See, that's not the point here. You're all getting it. You're all getting it wrong. Yes, the merits of the laws must be debated by the members of parliament and the political parties in the parliament. But when you try to attempt and hijack the protest or appropriate the protest or pretend to be representatives of the farmers or standing by them, then it's politics. Then it's political hypocrisy. When you pretend to say that you're with them and you feel their pain after not having been done any of these things yourself when you were in power, then Abhishek, it is hypocrisy. I've had farmer leader after farmer leader on our channel in the last 1 year only saying none of the governments have ever done anything for us. None of the governments being the operative part. So please, let's not now try and pretend as if we care for every farmer life which we are losing.
Tanvi, can I come in?
Tell me after.
Yes, Abhishek, you can respond, and then Neena Gupta coming to you. Yes. Abhishek, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Tell me one farmers' movement that happened in the last 20 years in our country where all the farmers have left their farmland and have come to the center. Do you realize it's been more than 150 deaths? It's been more than 2 months in this cold winter, sitting in the rains. These farmers with their family are sitting at the border. Why have they come?
Tell me the number of farmers who committed suicide till 2014, Mr. Abhishek Dutt.
Yes. Please, let's not kid ourselves, Abhishek Dutt.
I'll give you.
Please take a look at the statistics for the number of annual farmer suicides that have happened in our country. The fact that the farmers are on the streets today.
Under your government, you don't
1 minute, please. 1 minute. You asked me a question. You asked me the question. Let me answer. The government has now released the data for farmer suicides up to 2018, 2019. There is no great difference from what it was during your time. Farmer suicides continue to be in large numbers in our country, be it UPA or the NDA at par. And remember the fact, the reason that the farmers are out on streets today, refusing to trust anybody, refusing to believe anybody, and refusing to even go back an inch is because they have had enough over decades, not just from one government. Neena Gupta wanted to make a point. Go ahead, please.
Tanvi, you know, I have studied all of these farm laws in detail, and I am also an agriculture economist. I know these issues in detail. I've been doing this for 20 years. The way these laws have been drafted is very, very flawed. And if you look at all three of them together, it is not just the farmers. It's people like Stop interrupting, Neha. Just because you are from BJP doesn't mean you'll interrupt everybody who's on the TV program. You know,
and just because you're from Aam Aadmi Party doesn't mean you can lie on national television and everybody's going to take it lying.
What am I lying? What am I lying?
What was the reason for Mr. Kejriwal to notify that bill and then do a U-turn and tear that bill in the assembly very dramatically?
Yes, okay, let me respond.
What is the reason? Is it because your government is all about drama? Your leaders are all about drama?
Okay, listen now, first of all.
If you're an agricultural economist, could you not tell your chief minister, your leader, before he notified the bills?
You finished? Can I start now? And can you please keep quiet for 5 seconds? So basically, I don't think you really...
Okay. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. Can I just hear Neena Gupta now? Can I just hear Neena Gupta now? Yes.
Yeah. So, Tanvi, it's not just the farmers. It's people like you and me. Food inflation is going to be so high. If you look at all the three the three laws together, that it's going to impact all of us. So, it's going to impact the middle class. It's going to impact the farmer. It's going to impact the whole country. And that is the reason why we are opposing these farm laws. And you cannot keep amending something which has been so badly drafted. It becomes a khichdi. It has to be totally scrapped. You come back to the drawing board. I am not saying that everything was hunky-dory in the whole agriculture sector. A lot needed to be done. But what has been done is actually worse than what existed before. So let's just scrap these three laws. Let's go back to the drafting board. What is the emergency to pass these three laws when the whole pandemic is going on?
What is the emergency? Why can't the government take the 3 laws back? Why is the government getting into an ego issue with the farmers?
Okay,
You know, when
okay. These are the questions that we've been asking for a while as well. But the fact of the matter is the emergency was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and year after year, decade after decade, we've promised reforms which haven't happened. Now, these may not be the best set of reforms or even the greatest kind of reforms that impact the agriculture sector in a beneficial and a good way, but the laws are here. Now, the parliament can go back and debate and discuss and decide what they want to do with it. At the end of the day, it is the government's decision whether they want to repeal it or not. The farmers have made it very clear. They're not going to step back. So, at some point, a dialogue is essential. But for any political party, try and take the moral high ground today, whether it's the left or the Congress or anybody else, to say, well, we back the farmers and we care about the loss of their lives and their livelihood. Honestly, it's a little difficult to believe. The reason that many of the farmers in our country are in such a state today is because nobody thought of them decade after decade. The reason that we see 10,000, 12,000 suicides amongst farmers every year is because we haven't ever thought of a long-term solution. Our instant reaction to every big farmer problem is a loan waiver. That's the politics of it. Thank you so much for joining us on this conversation.